Okay. So fenugreek is used a lot in hair products and skin products. So because it helps with things like dandruff and irritated skin, like any of those skin ailments like eczema, it will help with it. Because it will reduce inflammation, and anything that reduces inflammation tend to reduce flare-ups. And usually, when we have high inflammation, the skin is usually the last place of manifestation for that high inflammation because it means that there's so much in your system that your body is trying to get rid of it and moves to a topical manifestation so that you can pay attention to that high inflammation in your system. So it's really good for hair growth. So you can put it in water, spray it at your hair roots. You can use it as part of herbal hair oils or shampoo or hair pomade or anything where it's applying to your scalp to promote hair growth. And if it's reducing dandruff, it would be really good to apply if it is that you have these really bad flare-ups. Okay, so I talked about right. So you can grind your fenugreek seeds down to powders and you can use them in different ways. So we learned to use them as electrolytes in honey. You can put them in food. You can use it in baking, whatever. However you want to use the fenugreek, you go ahead and you can do that. You can then use the powder for capsules as well. So some people don't like the taste. So you can put it in capsules and take it. And when you've made the capsules yourself, you know what goes into that capsule and you know that there's no fillers and you can manage your dosage to what you should be having. So topical use, so you can make it as a hair mask as well. I mentioned I mentioned the oils that you can use for your skin and sprouts. So bean sprouts are very, very nutrient dense. So you can, it's a seed, fenugreek is a seed. So you can sprout it and use it in your foods, however you would like to use it. So I gave the example of salad, sandwiches, or smoothies, but you don't even need to sprout it, you know, because if you're lazy like me, um, that's too much work. You have to wait for it to be sprouted to use it. So yeah. And then you can just add it to food. So a lot of Indian cooking has fenugreek in the recipe. Both seeds and leaves tend to be used a lot in Indian cooking, and they would refer to them differently. Uh, I think that is the case with coriander and cilantro. One is the leafy part and one is the seed. Okay, so this is just like a summary of what we did so far. Any questions on these herbs that we went through? All right.
Hi,
Hi.
I have a question with respect
Sure.
to the
Sorry, just
the
now. With
uh-huh
re with respect to
pudina. If you have like I know you can't mix certain herbs and certain herbs will it could actually cause more adverse effects. I'm not familiar with pudina at all. So like if you want to make it as a tea, and you want to add like what you would recommend, like other herbs, what you could recommend is safe for somebody with like stomach issues.
So anything that's good with blood nourishing. So I would recommend it going with something like you can actually use shadow benny with it. You can use rosemary. Anything that's going to help with nourishing. So I think last class we mentioned neem and moringa because it has so many nourishing benefits that once you have like any stomach issues, it's going to help with having nutrients. So even if you have poor digestion, it's going to help. Also, what you could do is anything with, but it depends on your type of stomach issues. Is it like a lack of a microbial community? What type of stomach issues is it?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like acid reflux and then like IBS.
Okay, so usually that has to do with your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
So that would mean that you need to have more fermented foods, more probiotics, more prebiotics than just taking a tea. The tea will help with the active digestion part, but what goes on in your stomach has it means that you need to regrow your gut bacteria. So things like if you make a bone broth, so you can pressure cook bones and fat and stuff from meat. So it could be beef, it could be chicken foot, any type of meat that you're eating, you can pressure cook it. You can add I prefer to cook it the Asian way because they add spices to that pressure cooker. And then they also add miso paste to it. The addition of miso paste, miso is fermented soybeans. So you get
Okay.
all the nutrients from that broth and you add the fermented soybean paste to it. It's going to make it the nutrients bioavailable. So it goes hand in hand. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm having miso. Usually a miso broth has that meat component to it with all the nutrients. It's gonna have collagen. It's going to support good digestion. It's so when you put the two together and you drink it, you're gonna notice that your body is going to be receiving all these nutrients. You can drink a cup a day. You could use it in your foods. So this is something that I tell people when a recipe call for broth, do not replace it with water because you're replacing nutrients that are being accommodated for in that recipe. So that is why, gut health is linked to that. Any type of fermented foods. So it depends on what you like. Some people don't like sauerkraut. Some people can't have dairy, which is like yogurt. So there are alternative things that you can consume. So there is tapache. Tapache is fermented pineapple skins with sugar and spices. There's kombucha. There is water kefir. There are a lot of different fermented foods that one can consume that is going to help with regrowth of your gut bacteria because that gut, I'm sorry, not your gut bacteria, but your gut microbiome, because it's not just bacteria there, right? So
Okay.
higher gut microbiome is now going to be supported because of these fermented foods. And this is why nutrition is also cultural because Indian people have their own versions of, you know, fermented foods. So like when you have pickled foods, char, all these side dishes that are pickled, pickled is fermenting because yeah, it is a fermentation process. So we just know of the Korean ones or the Chinese ones because these are more popular, but we really did grow up with a lot of pickled food from the Indian culture. Some of it has also been erased due to colonization and people wanting quote unquote whatever the white people eating. So you have lost a lot of cooking methods, of preparing foods nutritionally. And that is a whole class in itself. So
Okay, no problem.
to really relearn these things because it's a skill that have to learn and think about, how am I going to make this? What are alternative ways to make this? And usually I am a person who I don't like to waste. I am a person I like to, okay, if I'm getting it from the ground, everything needs to go back. So how am I using the waste? Am I composting it? So what I do is the vegetables that is close to spoiling or the scraps, the head, the bad part, the tail, the skin. I save it, I freeze it, and at the end of the week, you make a vegetable broth with it. When you finish, you can use your broth for soups and recipes for anything, and then you discard it in your compost or you give it back to the earth, however you want. So I think of food, receiving food in a cyclic nature. It's not like I just buy, consume in one way. It's like, how can I, especially when you get food that is, say, really cheap or that's in season, how are you preserving these food, right? So there are different ways to preserve food that is going to help you, that's going to promote health, because pickling is one of them, fermenting is one of them, canning is one of them. So, the commercial canning process is not as good as if you do canning yourself. So, that's why when we have meat, we just take the bones and we discard it. But Asian people don't do that. They take the bones, they roast it in the oven, they make bone broth with it, and that's what they use as the base for their soups and stews and ramen. So really, this is how you can elevate commercial food, especially if you don't have the budget to make everything from scratch and you have to consume things that are ready made in the grocery. I think I had mentioned about elevating your ramen by using it with broth, adding the miso paste, adding vegetables to it. So these are the examples of eating intentionally to say, okay, well, I'm gonna add kimchi to my food because kimchi is fermented cabbage. It has carrots in it. Depending who make it, it has a little tangy taste. So you can't do that. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody likes sauerkraut. But like I was mentioning, the drinks parts of it is also good. Because once you have a culture for water kefir, you basically feed in that sugar and water and you get in your that probiotics. Tapache, you discard. Like I said, I like to learn about what I'm using with my discard. So I learned that the Mexicans use the pineapple skin. You use your fresh pineapple how you want it. They use the skin, add some sugar and spices to it, ferment it for like a few days, and you either freeze the discard and reuse it, or you put it back for the earth. But it's really good. So that's why I asked if you all wanted a separate class on fermentation process. Making things like broth and tapache and all these things, because I think it would really tie up everything that we are learning in terms of herbal medicine and how we use it.
Yeah.
Going back to proper nutrition. Now, I'm not a nutritionist. It's just that I have learned so much because of my allergies. I was forced to learn so much alternative methods of making things. And if I want something, I had to make it from scratch. Because simple like as soy sauce. Soy sauce does not list that it has gluten in it. But when I called Chief, they were like, yeah, it has gluten in it. And it doesn't even list that it has gluten in it. So, there are lots of things that are on the market that people don't list as ingredients because they might think it's, whatever. And most Asian cookings, if they use lard is usually from pig fat. If you use broth, usually broth will be bone broth, and it would not just be limited to beef or chicken. They use a lot of pork in their cooking. So for me, I cannot communicate cross contamination if it is I'm speaking to somebody who has learned English as a second language. So, like, for example, you go to the Chinese restaurant, yeah, they have a halal sign, but you look at how they prepare the food or you've tasted, it tastes totally different. because there is cross-contamination happening even with the vegetarian meals. And I taste it and I know because I have food allergies. So once I taste it and I know that I'm having an allergic reaction, I know cross-contamination has happened. So I was trying to explain the concept of halal to a Korean person, and they didn't understand what it meant that I couldn't eat the food. They're like, "Oh, but it's just noodles." I was like, "Yeah, but there's beef in the broth, and if it is that that beef was not slaughtered under halal conditions, I'm not able to consume it." So there are so many considerations that you need to have when consuming food. Um, both medicinal and religious, because a lot of people, I know Jehovah Witnesses pray before they slaughter their animals as well. So a lot of, so yeah, a lot of how we consume food is linked to religion as well. Okay, any more
Okay,
questions?
thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, well, let's move on to the second part. So pain relief and skin healing. You're seeing my screen, right? Sometimes I forget to screen share.
Yep, I'm seeing it.
Okay, great. So cloves. So this one we're gonna talk about cloves, basil, and thyme. So we tend to have basil and oregano in our kitchen, especially for like I said, Italian cooking. Clove is very expensive. Very, very, very expensive. I can't remember. I think I paid $30 for an ounce of cloves, and that was on the cheap side. But cloves, which is why clove oil is very expensive. So clove is really good for pain. So it's pain relieving. It numbs the area. So this is why if you have a toothache, they would say take a piece of cotton and you put the clove in it and you just hold it to the back when you clamp down on it, wherever you have that toothache or gum pain. And in most pain relief medicine, you will get cloves as one of the ingredients for it. So it's also very good for antimicrobial and antifungal properties, which is why you use it for most viral infections. It's particularly used for oral health. People who go to when you go to your dentist, and if they are willing to share alternative practices, they would usually recommend things that are clove based. Um, and yeah, so you can treat things like candida with cloves. So because it helps with your pain, it's going to reduce inflammation. And anytime anything that's inflammation, arthritis, it's going to help with it. So we talk about antioxidant activity before, and then digestive aid. So this is why a masala chai is such a hit with everybody. I wanted to say magical because it is. Because when you look at the herbs, well, the spices in a masala chai recipe, and you see clove, star anise, coriander, fennel, cinnamon, cardamom, and you look at the individual benefits, you see why they infuse the water with these spices, and then you add your black tea, which has a lot of benefits in itself, and then you add the milk. Now, dairy milk, I had a whole rapport about this before. So, if you shouldn't consume dairy milk, coconut milk is a very good alternative for masala chai. When you look at it, all of these things come together, helps with digestion, it calms you, it soothes you, which is why you feel good after you have an authentic masala chai. That experience is so nice. I would recommend you guys trying to make a masala chai from scratch. Let me know how it goes. Feel free to share it with us in the community group chat. Because once anything's going to help with your digestion, especially, people have it after a meal, it's going to reduce bloating, indigestion, flatulence. The ginger in it is going to help, and the clove is going to help with nausea and vomiting. So when you have these things working in combination, instead of feeling awful, you're going to feel good. It's going to give you nostalgic feelings, and it's going to be very comforting. So people tend to associate masala chai as something comforting because of how you feel when you have these spices working together. So you can use a clove. So clove is also used for vaginal health. Because it fights against candida. It promotes good vaginal health in women. So usually cinnamon and clove will go together. If you make a tea with it and you drink it, it's good to clear out your system. So you can make a tea and drink it for bloating or sore throat. Again, this is something that you can mix with other herbs and make a tea with it. So clove oil. So clove oil is very expensive. Like I mentioned with the oregano oil, that is the one that is cold press extracted. So it is almost concentrated like that essential oil, but you can make your own clove oil with your carrier oil of choice. So in this case, you can decide if it is you are massaging it, if you are putting it in your mouth and holding it in the cotton ball. So we went through the different carrier oils, and if it is that you're using it for massage, what type of carrier oil you would prefer. If it is that you don't want it to have a scent, so you go through that listing, or maybe do your own research, because some people are allergic to seed oils. So some seed oils like sunflower ones, grapeseed and stuff, might not work for them. So you have to do a little bit of research, which is why your herbal medicine is always client or patient specific, and you don't just generalize based on the information that you learned, but you try to find what works for that specific person. And you can use that clove tea as a mouthwash because you're just rinsing it. And that's going to help with your overall oral health, killing bacteria, making sure that you don't have that bad breath, and it's going to help with any of your gum pains. Again, if it is that you using this, make sure and mention these things to your doctor or your dentist, simply because they need to be notified, especially if they need to give you medicine and any contraindications may that occur. We don't want that side effect. You don't want to be bleeding out and such. So cloves, you can put it in baked goods, in teas, curries, and stews. You can put it in stew chicken. I'm sorry, stew beef or any kind of beef you could put it in. Cloves is actually part of when people make broth the Asian way, or pho if in Vietnamese. Clove is usually part of the ingredients that they use. It's called aromatics. So it is a combination of herbs that they patch or they add to the broth in cooking. Now we know it as a spice that we use in baking when you're making things like the pumpkin pie spice or spice cookies or any of those things. You use clove in it. Okay, so basil. Basil is what we use in Italian cooking. you can have it. There are four different types of basils. I just put an overview of basil. I did not do any specific basil, but we are accustomed to the green basil. We have a wild basil in Trinidad, and we also have purple basil or holy basil, which grows like a weed everywhere. So almost every Hindu person has a tulsi in their yard, the tulsi basil. So if you want them, you can add them. The properties of the Tulsi basil is a little bit different because it has a higher cognitive support with your Tulsi basil, but this basil is just basil, like what we have, the normal green basil, or maybe the dried ones that you can get in Price Mart in the bottle. I try to make it accessible information, so that's why I use like the overall basil family, and I didn't specify basil, like the tulsi or whatnot. So it has antioxidant properties and is going to, once you are protected from antioxidant stress, it's going to help with your overall health. Anti-inflammatories, so it's going to help with conditions like arthritis, digestive disorders, and respiratory issues. It's antibacterial, so it's useful for treating infections, especially respiratory infections and skin infections. So, an adaptogenic. So I will not go into adaptogenic, but basically what it does, an adaptogenic herb either sends up or down or brings to neutral things in your body. So it adapts your body to promote balance within your system. So we will not go into this. This is that type of herbs is a next class. But it helps the promote mental balance. That is the Tulsi one. That's the purple basil. And digestive aid. So it's gonna help with bloating, gas, and stomach cramps. So your respiratory health will clear the mucus from your lungs and your respiratory tract, and it's going to help fight with infections. So basil can be made into a tea that you can sip. You can make an infused oil with it for oral and topical application and cooking. So you can make it into pestos if you use in the fresh leaves for pesto salad soups. You can put it in pasta dishes. If you're like me, I add basil to everything. So I'm not limited to this list. And yeah, so you could do it with steam inhalation as well for respiratory relief. So time, so this is your fine thyme, because we know we have the broadleaf thyme or pudina, and there's like various different names, but this is the fine one that grows. The stem tends to be very barky, and the leaves are very small and dainty. And when you crush it, it releases this high scent to your in your hands. Okay, so y'all will just join back in with the link in 10 minutes. So it's antimicrobial and antifungal. It aids in respiratory health because it will clear the mucus from your system. And it's anti-inflammatory, so it's going to help with arthritis, muscle pain, inflammatory digestive conditions. And with all the digestive aids we saw so far, it helps with indigestion, reduces bloating, gas, and cramps. And this is also an immune booster. So you want to make sure and try to take this before you get any ailments, so your body has time to prepare for oncoming infections. So you can make it into a tea. It helps with menstrual cramps. The thyme oil, you can use it. Again, the carrier oil depends on you and how you are applying it. So if it is that you're using it for skin infections, you will not use the same oil that you would use for muscle pain or anything that, if it is that you're going to apply it to your chest for your topical application. You can also use that oil to make salves and balms that can be applied to your chest and for skin infections. So your oil can just be your starter product if it is that you want to use something um like that, your salve and balm. And we went through that in the second herbal preparations class. Okay, and steam inhalation and then cooking. I mentioned cooking. So it goes really good with your meats as well. People tend to have issue digesting meat sometimes. So all of these things that goes well with meat tend to tenderize meat or break it down. So it's good for digestion. Okay, so that's it for this one. Anybody have any questions? All right then.
Just one question.
So,
With respect to the menstrual cramps, would you say that it is more effective to probably have the teas probably even before, like before the onset of your period?
absolutely. Absolutely. So menstrual cramp, you can be proactive with it simply because you have PMS, pre-menstrual symptoms, post-menstrual symptoms, and then MS, which is what you have during that stage. So you can actually start taking it once you start to feel like my period is gonna come, you can be proactive with it. So you don't need to take it by itself. I always recommend taking it with things like sorrel. If you get sorrel, rose petals, orange peels, because these things are nutrient dense. Anything that's nutrient dense is going to help with blood. It's going to help with bringing nutrients to your muscles so that you don't get that cramps. You know, so red raspberry leaves are very good to help with that cramps as well. And you can mix all of these and make it into a tea. Some like, pardon? So once you start to feel symptoms, ask yourself, what am I feeling? Am I feeling fatigue? Am I feeling lethargic? Am I feeling cramps? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling drained? And then you can list your symptoms and then look for herbs that is going to promote thing. So if you go on our Zuli apothecary page, I could probably just send it to you then. We have like a mock materia medica, not an actual official one. But I like to put all the uses of different herbs, and there are a combination that I usually recommend for women that can be used at all stages during your period. And because I have been doing it, I don't get any. I don't even remember the last time I get cramps or any of those things. And if I do get cramps, it's usually because I eat something high inflammation and my body cannot correct for it at that given time. But yeah, I will definitely recommend that you'll be a bit proactive with things like period pain. Okay, so this one is the last one, detoxification and circulation. So I wanted to put these two together because in order for things to remove from your system or detox from your system, you need to have good circulatory health because your blood system is how things move around in your body, right? So in that case, once you have good circulation, it means that waste is leaving your cells, is going into your bloodstream, is going to your liver, etc. that needs to come out, and it will come out either as acne on your skin, as skin infections or rashes. It will come out in fecal matter and urination. So if there's a way to come out, trust me, your body is going to manifest that in a physical way for you to note. So we're going to talk about pepper, cayenne pepper specifically, and black pepper, parsley, and apple cider vinegar for this one. So cayenne pepper is usually used for most of your topical creams, joint pains, muscle aches, salves, balms for nerve pain. And this is because it has capsaicin, which has analgesic properties. And you can use this for people who have all of these issues and they don't want to really take, especially if these issues are chronic. I had mentioned before that when you take tablets, it does a number on your liver because your liver has to get to break down, well, metabolize or break down these extra materials in those medicines, and these tend to have highly negative side effects, especially if it is that you have chronic pain. It means chronic means that it's going to be lifelong. So I would always say modern medicine is for an instantaneous one or two time treatment. But once you hit chronic, you want to switch to herbal medicine or folk medicine simply because it manages it better and in a holistic way rather than in a destructive way by having to take a tablet every day for your life. So if it is that you look at Asian food, South Asian, East Asian, once you look at a recipe, there's going to be some kind of pepper, um, of sorts. They would, depending on the region, they would prepare peppers differently. And even in Trinidad, we have our own version of pepper sauce that we have our mixture. We have it with all our foods. So different regions, use their peppers in different ways. So there's bird pepper, we have our bulb pepper, we have Sichuan pepper, chili peppers, bell peppers. So all of these peppers are used. It comes down to it helps with metabolizing food. Simply because it's going to break down any kind of things that's going to promote deposition of fat. And this is why, like, a lot of people would say that when they eat food in Korea or Japan,